Thank you. Before I start today, I want to introduce my wife, Rachel, of 37 years. And my son, Josiah, was able to come. He makes me look small, but. And my granddaughter, Ruby Grace. Ruby was named after my mom, so glad that they could make it today. So today I want to publicly and officially announce my candidacy for the mayor of Lincoln, Nebraska. Thank you. And as I thought about this, one of the negatives to making a public announcement is that I no longer get the opportunity to see the looks on the faces of those who have known me well when I tell them about my decision. So for those I was able to have conversations with before today, their responses became very predictable and actually kind of precious. It was always started with shock, quite visibly on their faces. It was quite amusing. Nobody saw this coming. And then it quickly shifted to excitement about the possibility, which I found affirming and quite humbling. And it ended with the question, why? Like, where did this come from? So where did this come from? You know, it has been said that on the far side of pain that we don't prefer, we find transformation we wouldn't trade. So I can definitely say that through the past 3 years of pain that we've all walked through as a country, as a state, that none of us would prefer, I've found transformations that I wouldn't trade. So the first one I found is a deep appreciation for and belief in the ideals of our country for which we were founded on. Always perfectly executed? Of course not. Perfection this side of heaven is impossible. Always equally extended to and enjoyed by everyone and all people, regardless of things like race and gender? Absolutely not. And yet the greats of the past, men like Frederick Douglass and Martin Luther King, didn't find their hope by seeking to tear down the ideals, but rather by seeking to hold them up as if a mirror to expose the soul of our country and to call us to accountability. This is the great country. I wouldn't want to live anywhere else in the world. And I believe that it's worth fighting for, sacrificing for, and striving to keep moving towards those ideals. Second, I found another level of understanding of the role of government plays in our lives and the power it wields that affects our lives for good or for ill. As a country, we went through we all went through the same things as a country, right? Pandemic, race conflicts, inflation now. As a country, we did not all have the same experience as we sought to respond to the things that we hit. There were communities, cities, states that navigated far better than others and with better outcomes. And those different experiences in large part were determined by the decisions and actions of our elected officials. So I've been sobered by the fact that our ability to thrive is significantly defined and outlined by the decisions and policies of those we choose to put in office. And so at a high level, these two things I've found during this time, are the foundation for my decision to run for mayor. I deeply believe in what we have as a country, and I'm willing to sacrifice and serve. And as I contemplated a place I felt like I could add the most value and see the greatest impact for my service, my heart landed on the role of mayor. Now, at first glance, some might question my experience for this position or my sanity. And being quite candid, when I first had the thought of running for mayor, I even questioned my own experience, not knowing exactly what the mayor did at that point. So all it took was a quick look at our city charter, and that question was replaced by a conviction that my experience makes me uniquely qualified to step into the trusted position with confidence. So I quote from our charter: "The mayor shall be fully responsible for the proper conduct of the executive and administrative work and affairs of the city." So I believe accurately stated in another way, the role of the mayor is to be the executive director of the nonprofit organization called the city. And more specifically, nonprofit leadership. So the role of the mayor, while having political aspects to it, is first and foremost and fundamentally a leadership position, not a political position. So when I bring 25 years of experience founding, leading, and coaching leaders in the nonprofit sector. So if you're primarily looking for a politician for your next mayor, I'm not your guy. If you want a leader, I believe I'm a pretty compelling choice. So personally, I don't want a mayor who majors on their own political agenda, driving for its adoption and diverting finances to fund it. I want a mayor passionate about, with experience in, and possessing honed skills in leadership, and ideally nonprofit leadership, which, while having a lot of things in common with the marketplace, has some very key differences. So one of those key differences is understanding the vital importance of vigilantly identifying, tracking, and leading from what I call impact metrics. You see, in the marketplace, you have a built-in metric that if you get fuzzy on and if you get ineffective in understanding and executing on what you're in the business to do, you quickly get a wake-up call. It's called profit, right? But when it comes to nonprofit organizations, money and impact are separated. You get money from fundraising or taxes, and separate from that function, you execute the service. Is the service rendered worthy of the investment being given? Are we being effective? How do we know? So my understanding of this need to have the right metrics to give you accurate information, positioning you to navigate your leadership decisions effectively, is one of the two reasons why I decided to not pursue major funding sources to start my campaign. So typically, especially at a race of this magnitude, conversations have been had with large funding sources, be they individuals or organizations. Alliances have been formed and hundreds of thousands of dollars would have already been committed. As my website launches today, my campaign bank account is at zero. At zero. So why? Because I didn't want to know if I could influence a few people and be lulled into a false sense of security. I want to know that if who I am and what I stand for resonates with the many. So for my research, I Googled, if Google served me well, in the last mayoral election, around $500,000 was spent to run and win. Well, 5,000 times 100 is $500,000. And in my mind, if I can't get 5,000 people to vote early by investing $100 in my campaign, then what hope do I have of ever having a chance to win with the probably 40,000 votes it's probably going to take to win the race? So if who I am and what I stand for is what the people of Lincoln need and want, we can do it together.
Yeah.
Right?
Amen.
So what do I stand for? So what is my platform? I'm going to be rolling that out over the next several weeks in depth, but it's all going to hang on the acrostic of Lincoln, Lincoln. Leadership, integrity, Nebraska, collaboration, opportunity, law enforcement, and neighbors. So allow me to conclude by kind of expounding on the first one of leadership. So I stand for leadership. I believe that everything arises and falls on leadership. More than political experience, I believe leadership acumen is what's needed if we're going to see Lincoln realize its fullest potential. Therefore, I'm not going to cherry pick a single issue or two, as hot as the topics may be, and make a promise born out of ignorance at best or arrogance at worst. Ignorance in that isolating a single issue seeks to speak into complexity simplistically. Arrogance in that to speak dogmatically into an issue with little facts is a gross overstatement of one's capacity. So when you really think about it, each and every function of our city that encompasses any and all the concerns that we would have has a leader in that seat, stewarding that area on our behalf. So the promise I do make to you is that if I'm elected as mayor, the 13 men and women, the city directors, will be my top priority. Serving them as they serve you, investing in their development, verifying their competence, vetting their planning, ensuring excellence, and engaging your concerns. And from executing this process together, you, I, and the department leadership will navigate, nail down decisions that we can stand together on, which will allow Lincoln to thrive. Leadership coaching, organizational development, strategic planning are absolutely passions of mine. They are what I currently do a majority of the time. It's what I do. Every week for years, I've been able to be at the table of nonprofit business and educational leaders, helping them build momentum, break through ceilings, and advance their missions. I would be honored to use these skills to serve the city of Lincoln as our next mayor. Thank you.